Welcome back. You're watching All Angles on eNCA. Now, a documentary on youth yoga program will be screened during the 2023 46th Annual Mill Valley Film Festival in Oakland, in California. The documentary is entitled I Am Hope, which seeks to address issues recognized across cultures and continents as having to do with youth of color and trauma through film. The documentary is directed and produced by Oakland native and activist, filmmaker and yoga teacher Shaka Jamal, and he joins us in studio. Welcome to you, and thank you for joining us. Very well decorated. I mean, 20 or 2 decades at least in the business, yes, primarily as a cultural activist.
Yes.
And you use your prowess in film and documentaries, yes, to tell the story of trauma around youth and the challenges they face.
Yes.
Why does this resonate with you?
It resonates with me because of my experience as a youth coming up. I had some of the greatest teachers, and there's some teachers that I felt could have done a bit better job. Mm-hmm. So when I step into the classroom, I really make sure I'm that teacher that I needed when I was a youth. Mm-hmm. So I try to give them everything they need, and one of those foundations is through mindfulness. Mm-hmm. and through yoga. And through that, we believe that we could combat any type of generational traumas, any type of learning challenges, because the student as well as the teacher can be very aware and mindful about what's going on in the classroom.
Yeah. And do you find the absence maybe of early childhood development programs in giving the foundation or the building blocks for a young person to navigate life is essentially what's also missing? Yes,
that's very key, because sometimes I step in the classroom, children are 13, 18, even college students, they've never heard of yoga or mindfulness. And we can start these early programs, they can step into the world in a different way. It's something that is beneficial for themselves, their families, and their entire communities.
Okay, and the documentary is at film festivals. It's,
yes,
it's coming to the country, so at least we'd be able to see your work.
Yes.
And in terms of putting together the storyline, because there are quite a number of challenges, limited resources, let alone the polarization of society because of our history.
Yes.
How do you even grapple with all these multitude of issues?
Well, one thing that we learned through this work is that anger can be useful, but when it overpowers us, it blinds us. Mm. And with this practice, we want to be able to see things how they really are, right? So when we step in, we work with students, we let them know we work with them in a non-confrontational way.
Yeah.
Right, and also to let them know everything that they learn is their responsibility to teach it to other students.
Yeah.
So the documentary is all about how the students were introduced to the program, how they resisted it, but then how they took it on as their own.
Yeah, and taking the ownership thereof to say, I am hope,
yes,
and that you can be that catalyst that can change your environment regardless, yes, of your circumstances.
That's right.
Yeah. So in your travels, I mean, it's very interesting how you came to South Africa, yes, on a fellowship program, a volunteer United Nations
U.S. Peace Corps.
U.S. Peace Corps,
yes,
that brought you to Limpopo.
Limpopo. I was outside the Guyana.
Yeah.
It was up to my people in Shawela village. They took care of me. And there I was a community resource volunteer, but we helped build the first rural library in that particular area. Mm-hmm. I helped produce curriculum for primary schools, and then the HIV, AIDS, and malaria education, and also entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So in comparison to Oakland, or maybe areas that you worked in the U.S. compared to South Africa, do we lag that far behind? If you look at the projects and maybe less resourced areas in the U.S.
Well, I must say, South Africans are some of the most intelligent people that I have met. You meet people who speak 7, 8, 9 different languages, where back home, most of us only speak 1. Mm-hmm. They're lucky if they can speak 2, right? And I also feel that here, people really appreciate having resources that they normally don't have. And sometimes, we have so many resources in the States, sometimes we don't take it as seriously.
Yeah, but even here, and that's exactly the message, to take accountability and ownership of your own life, because if you don't have the presence of that ownership, then you are subject to whatever the world throws at you. And we know there's issues of mental, yes, illness, there is depression, there's a lot of trauma that young people face. And when you identify your students, how do you select them to join the program?
It's accessible to all students. I've been told this month is Mental Health Awareness Month in South Africa. And with this work, it's mental health awareness every single day. Yeah. So every student that steps in the classroom is it has accessibility to the practice. But then we also have mindful leaders. There might be 2, 3, 4, 5 students who say, hey, we're going to learn it in such a fashion, we're going to teach it to other students and even teach it to other teachers.
Yeah. And the presence of I actually want you to explain if this is expandable to parents, or it's also because it's one thing to empower the child, and when they go back to their environment that is perhaps not as supportive or nurturing, depending on their circumstances, is that knowledge transferable from a child's perspective to a parent?
Definitely. So one thing that makes this documentary unique is that we have a curriculum that we've developed that is coupled along with the film. You can watch the film in its entirety or in 2 or 3 minute segments and be able to workshop it with students, parents, NGOs, whoever has the actual film. We also have soundtrack and music to uplift for you to practice your mindfulness and yoga with. So it's for big school districts, whole provinces, single schools, people who homeschool, and NGOs and more.
It is a collaborative effort as well. You could not have done it alone. I know you've worked with some of South Africa's A-listers like MXO, and who else had you brought in to relay this message of I Am Hope?
Well, MXO, Slick Angel, some of the Afro Soul pioneers, who are also known as Roots 2000, are on the soundtrack. They can hear some of their music throughout. So we were able to work with people here in South Africa as well as local musicians in Oakland, California, who are also dedicated to the work of uplifting their communities through art and culture.
Yeah, arts and culture, and it's very attractive to young people who are musically inclined, or they want to get into the performing arts. But I think what we more and more realize is the fact that Africa is the frontier in terms of influencing world culture and music. So there's a lot that young people in Africa have already, if they only recognize their own greatness.
That's right, and that's what the key part with the work with the yoga and the mindfulness is, recognizing our own unique power inside. Yeah. But the real magic is learning that you do not have to use force in order to be powerful. Yeah. Right, and that's a key part of that work.
Yeah, and other virtues like forgiveness. You earlier on said if you're not careful about anger, it will destroy you, it will manipulate and blind you. So similarly, there are other things like forgiveness, not only of self, but those around you, so that you can move on to your next level of your greatness.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing to not only forgive others, but to forgive ourselves. Yeah. But that's what learning is about. That's what the wisdom comes in. And when you can sit still and be mindful about things, those insights come.
Being mindful, being just present. Yes. There's many authors who had written about, I think it was Eckhart Tolle, who spoke about, the importance.
He's a great one.
Yeah, of now. And I think we're so distracted with all these distractions bombarding us in society that we miss the moment to just genuinely and authentically connect, from spirit to spirit. So I think through yoga, this is what the practice that you're then instilling in young people.
Definitely, and from the South African perspective, it's Ubuntu. I am because we are. Yeah. Right, but we have to first recognize the light that shines in us so that we could honor and recognize that light that shines in the person sitting right across from us. I'm
so inspired. It really, really is amazing. And the energy, positive vibes really radiates very well. Thank you so much, Shaka Jamal. So where's the documentary available again?
We can go to iamhopedocumentary.com. You can see the trailer, and you can send us a message to see how you can bring that to your particular school or community. We're going to be screening Coffee Bay November 1st, Eastern Cape, just south of Mthatha. We're going to be Bloemfontein on the 4th, and on the 5th we'll be here at Joburg at AMP Studios. Yeah, no, we really appreciate it. And may your message multiply wherever you go.
Thank you. Of hope and of love, compassion, Ubuntu, humility. Yes. May that certainly multiply. Thank you so much.
Yes.
That is Shaka Jamal, of course.
Good luck to the Springboks tonight.
Good luck to the Springboks as well. We certainly will relay their message as well. So that's where we'll leave it with Shaka Jamal.